Hey, it's Frerak, and today we're adding a sensor and a contact switch in my 2016 Polo GT to activate a couple of more features in my new maxidot cluster. These are the components we'll be adding and wiring to the car. This right here is a sensor for washer fluid level out of a Skoda Superb, which we can add in this car by drilling a small hole in the reservoir and adding the sensor in. The other component we're adding is a contact switch. We will be adding this in the bonnet latch of our car so that the maxidot can display if the bonnet is open or shut. Enough explanation, let's begin with installing the hardware first and then we can figure out how to wire it. Let's first install this contact switch. To install this, we need to remove that latch. The bonnet latch is held in place by two long T30 Torx screws. Once those are undone, you can pull out the latch. It will be wedged in there, so some force might be required to pull it out. To get it free from the car entirely, we need to access this tiny plastic box which will be locked onto the driver's side headlight hanger for right-hand drive vehicles, which holds the lock to free the cable entirely. We need to open the box up, remove the cable according to the notch on the lock. Once you have freed up the cable and removed the latch from its housing, you will be removing it in this position, so you'll be facing this side of it. And if you notice the contact switch, it has two guides and one small tiny lock. And if you notice this shape right here, it exactly resembles it because this is where it needs to go from the back, just like so. After the contact switch has been installed, you can put everything back together as it was removed. Make the wiring of the connector, follow the cable and lock it next to the nozzle of windshield washer reservoir. Make the cable follow the exact route from where it was removed and lock it in its plastic box as well. Once everything is put back together, close the bonnet and check if it latches on and open correctly. I removed the grill in my case because I thought if I did break anything and the latch didn't unlatch, I would have a better chance of opening the bonnet with the grill out. Now with the contact switch installed, we can work on installing this sensor right here, which is for the washer fluid. For that, we'll need to jack up the car, put it on a jack stand, remove the wheel and remove the fender liner as well, because the bottle is right here, right behind the bumper, and we need to add the sensor at the back itself. So let's loosen up that wheel quickly and raise the car up with the provided jack and a jack stand. I'm using the reinforced section of the pinch weld to both jack it up and place the jack stand to keep it stable. Giving it a firm shake will confirm its stability. Using the rear end of the handle provided in the toolkit for the Torx screwdriver, we can make quick work of getting rid of these lug nuts and then the wheel. Slide the wheel under the pinch welds of the car as well as a fail-safe and added protection. We can now peacefully work on the fender lining with its million T25 screws. With the fender liner removed, we have clear access to the reservoir where we need to add the sensor. So what most people do is install this sensor right here because it is a good flat spot and the lowest point as well. But the OEM placement of it is right here. I'll go the OEM position, and for that I'll need to remove this entire reservoir because it's not very accessible here to drill a hole, and glue it properly. So I'll remove it. There's one 10mm over here, and the same is on the other side of this reservoir. For that, either you can remove the bumper or remove the headlight. So I'll remove the headlight because removing the bumper is a really long task. With the headlight removed, we can clearly see the 3 points that the reservoir is attached to the car. There's a 10mm right there. There's a lock right here which you can just pull out like that, and then there is another 10mm right there. With the bumper hanging slightly, you can remove the nozzle from its lock. It just pulls out gently. Going back into the wheel well, I drained the entire reservoir in a bottle so as to not waste any water and reuse all the washer fluid by just removing the pump, which can be pulled out upwards and released from its location. And remove the reservoir from the car through the wheel well itself. Now that the reservoir is out, you can see that the OEM location is this section right here, because it even has a notch where you can tuck the wiring and it joins the loom that goes above from here. I just hope that it is thick enough that it doesn't crack into a million pieces and I do a clean job. But it should be easier now that it's out in my hands and not in a car in an awkward position. After a quick clean, I placed the seal where I want to center it, roughly marked its center, and made a pilot hole with a hot nail. Using a 25mm hole saw and a drill, the hole was created. The seal sat perfectly inside it, and I had to sand the hole over and over again to push the sensor in its place. I didn't overdo to loosen the hole and ruin a good seal, so it was a pretty tight fit which would never leak. I rinsed the reservoir with water a couple of times to get rid of any plastic residue that might have been left inside. I planned on using some epoxy glue for this, but the seal it made by accurately drilling the hole and sanding it over and over again was just so good that I knew it was never going to leak. So now with the hardware part installed, as you can see, even the sensor is in, the contact switch is in, the connector for it is right here. With both of them installed, we can now get to the wiring. This is the earth wire. That's the earth point I'll be giving, that right there, the second mounting point for the reservoir. I'll be giving a common earth, as they both require one earth and one communication. I'll give them both common earth, and both the communication wires will be carried into the cabin via that grommet right there. So far I've extended the washer fluid sensor. As you can see, I've attached the ground to that and extended the communication line so it goes above the headlight at least, so I can extend it further from there. Now I'll just test the measurements once and then make it into a proper loom. This is the loom so far. Again, this is the connector for the reservoir, that is the contact switch connector, and they have a common ground. These are the two communication wires that are to be wired, one to the instrument cluster and the other to the BCM. So I've taken the final measurements. This is the reservoir connector. This is the wiring going above the headlight. Right here is the bend which I have given so that it can follow the earth all the way down there. This is going to follow the connector which is going down there for fog lamp and horn. This loom right here, I'm going to tape the brown wire to this loom and it'll split up over here and just connect to ground, so it won't look like I've added anything. And the rest of the wiring, these communication cables, they're just going to follow this wiring harness all the way down there and then to the grommet. This is the connector right here for the contact switch. I mean, it's barely visible and you can't even tell that I've added wiring here because I'm going to make this communication line follow the route of the latch cable. Now I'm done with the wiring on the outside. You can see the cable runs from there, the wire runs from there, and you cannot see any wires over here. Not any that I've added, obviously there are wires around here. You can see this new tape. Once this fades down into this old dusty brown tape, you won't even be able to tell that I've added any wire over here. It just goes all the way around here and into that grommet. Same goes for this connector. It is connected, as you can see. It follows the cable and joins right here. Now it's time for the interior. If I show you, those two communication wires have reached on the inside. Now you can see green and the blue communication wire. Green one is for the contact switch. This goes to the BCM and the blue one goes to the instrument cluster, the new maxidot. You can see the wiring mess down here. I plan on removing the dashboard one day and just sorting all of this wiring out. All of these things, all of these retrofits were done by me in a hurry, basically, of excitement. So I just did a very sloppy job of wiring it previously, but as you can see, I've learned from my mistakes and now these are being wired properly from the get-go. The battery has already been disconnected because I will be taking out the cluster and opening the BCM. With the cluster removed and disconnected, we need to remove its blue shield on its connector by releasing its small lock and add the washer level sensor's communication wire to slot number 17 of this connector with the appropriate terminal. Once it's added and everything is put back together, we need to code the cluster to let it know that we've added the sensor for it. Using OBD11 or VCDS, you can open address 17 instruments or dashboard, go to long coding, and activate indicator lamp for low windshield washer fluid. Once you've done that, you will be greeted with this fault right here. And then we can use the washer fluid we initially removed to fill the reservoir back in. Once the fluid is above the sensor, the error should disappear. I filled the reservoir up to check for leaks. Once I was satisfied that there were none, I put back the fender liner and then the wheel. Put the car back down and started to work on the BCM to add the communication for contact switch as well. The communication for contact switch needs to go into slot number 27 of the T73A, which is the black connector in the two connectors of the Polo's BCM. After the wire was added, battery was connected, the contact switch didn't work right away. So I removed it from the latch for inspection. Turned out that the wire was correct, but the latch couldn't open the switch even in open position. So I studied a little more and it turns out there are a few part numbers for the latch which has a contact switch. Regardless, I bent the contact switch I had in this shape and it started to work flawlessly.
So that was all I wanted to share on the topic of adding 2 new warnings to the maxidot cluster, because it's possible now. In the stock form, the car wouldn't be able to support both of these, but now it's possible and it's added. And I understand how some people might say that this was so useless, both of those warnings were not needed whatsoever, and I understand that, but the fact that this can support it and I can add it, that's the reason I added it. I enjoy the process of doing such stuff and I document it and you guys watch it. So it's a win-win for me. And in the next video, we're adding tinted glasses to this Polo, because you can see these are not tinted. This is a 2016 vehicle. After 2020 or maybe 21, highline models of Polo, Vento, even the Rapid got these tinted glasses which had a dark green tint. I'll be adding those in the next episode. So if you have any questions about those, leave it in the comments so that I can add it in the video itself. For now, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time.